You're going to really enjoy In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, because our guest is Ted Karras. What an impact this guy made his first year with the Cincinnati Bengals organization at the center position. Ultimate team leader, quarterback, the offensive line. Everybody looks to Ted Karras for the answers. Ted Karras gets that offensive line to do what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to do it. He's an extension of Frank Pollock on the football field. He'll talk about his experiences with the New England Patriots winning Super Bowls. He'll talk about his family, the first family of football. Every generation is a champion with the Karras family. It's really quite amazing, and he's made an impact not only with the football team, but in the community from a charitable standpoint as well. And he talks about all of it. Ted Karras, special guy. Thanks for joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. As always, emanating from our outstanding studios here at First Star Logistics, and we have a very, very special guest right now. We got the quarterback of the offensive line. In my opinion, the most important player, they have MVP, most important player was Ted Karras for the Cincinnati Bengals, because without him, I don't know where they would have been this year. And he's not only a great football player, but one heck of a human being as well. Welcome, my man. And it was a heck of a year, wasn't it? It really was.
It was, Dave. Thanks for having me on again. That's a high praise and compliment from you. Thank you for that. We have a fantastic team, and I did think it was a great year. Probably the most sad I was the whole year was watching that game Sunday. So, thinking, it kind of a missed opportunity for us. So work starts on 2023 here now.
Boy, it is amazing, though, isn't it? You look at Kansas City, literally can come down to a play. One play decides the AFC Championship game. One play literally, decides the Super Bowl. It's amazing. You never know, and it's never just one. But, there's a handful of plays. You don't know what point in the game they're going to occur. You have to play every game to its every play in every game to its fullest, because you never know when it's going to be the one, right?
Absolutely. And thus is life in this league. And that is, how we live. And especially when you get to the playoffs and when you get to the Final Four and then the championship game, there's no margin for error. And there really isn't throughout the whole entire season of the NFL. But when you play the premier teams in the top competition in this league, you have to play at 100% your best. And there's no margin of error, or else you're going to lose the game and be eliminated. And that's when we saw that happen to us, and we saw that happen to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I honestly, as a former offensive lineman, was really happy and proud for the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, because all you heard was, "Oh man, Philadelphia Eagles, they're within 4 sacks of setting the sack record that the great Chicago Bears had. That was an impossible record, and they're just killing everybody. 4 sacks a game all through the regular season and postseason, averaging 4 sacks a game. And the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line stepped up as a group, and man." When you see that occur, that's good stuff to see as former linemen, isn't it?
Well, especially, I have to give a shout out to one of my best friends and 4-year roommate in New England, Joe Thuney, the left guard for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a dear friend of mine, and he put together another vintage Thuney performance, locking down a premier player one-on-one most of the game in the Super Bowl. So I'm really proud of him, proud to be his friend, really happy for him. I'm sure he's going to be enjoying it. But just, I really, it's cool to be friends and teammates with a guy like that. He should be in an all-time great discussion. I could go on and on about Thuney. Good for him. We need to unseat him in 2023, but very proud of him. And I wanted to shout him out because he's done that for going on 8 years now of big time games, locking down the best D lineman in the game at the time.
That's awesome. That's outstanding. You look at it, boy. As that game unfolded, it was just the opposite of what I kind of thought. I thought Philadelphia would really control things on the ground, and Kansas City's linebackers, man, they were coming downhill. They were balling. They were playing some serious football, and it seemed like Spagnuolo said, "I'm going to take something away, and it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles running game." And even when Hurts was making some impossible throws and, making great plays, he had a phenomenal game. He had a dominant game. Spagnuolo's like, I don't want him to have two ways to go. I want to make sure that I got to take something away. I'm taking that running game away. And then Kansas City ran the ball, really well. It kind of was the reverse of what I thought might transpire during the course of the game. And Hurts put up Mahomes numbers, and Mahomes put up Hurts numbers kind of, but it was amazing to see how that game transpired. It's like you just never know in this league, man.
Well, you got to give a lot of credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. They played, down the stretch good enough to be the champions. And
Yep.
yeah, I don't think Mahomes did he throw an incompletion in the second half. I mean,
I think
there was a lot of one.
Yeah.
So I mean, they played championship football when it counted the most, and that's what the whole season comes down to. So give a lot of credit for them. They won close games in the final two games to be the champion. So, it stings as a competitor. You want to be in the final stage, and to see your friend and your buddy lift the Lombardi. You're very proud of him, but there's a yearning that hurts in your soul a little bit that you want to be there. You can, especially with this team.
And Ted, I mean, it's a scenario. How about the Karras first family of football, in my opinion? I mean, your grandfather, Ted Karras Sr., he won a championship with the Bears. Your great uncles, Lou and Alex, played in the 50s and 60s of professional football. Your dad won a championship with the Redskins. 3 generations, 7 family members have played football in the Big Ten. The Karras family. You've won 2 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. Your family is highly decorated, man. It is unbelievable how successful the Karras family has been in the game of football.
Been very fortunate. Been on a lot of good teams, a lot of winning football. A lot of great coaches, and spoiled with quarterback play as well. If you go back through me, I'm probably the most spoiled between Tom and Joe and Fitz. But then you go back to my grandfather, Bill Wade, championship quarterback. Doug Williams was my father's quarterback in Washington. So obviously that is the most important position in the sport, but we have been very fortunate to be part of these good teams and contribute. It's been a lot of fun. Very, very blessed. I would like to get another one. That's my main goal.
I love it. It's going to happen. I mean, what as you have time now to kind of sit back and reflect a little bit on the season, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think back about the trials and tribulations of the NFL season the Cincinnati Bengals just had?
Well, I thought it was a successful season. Obviously, when you don't win the championship, ultimately the goal wasn't reached. But we can't discredit the 10 months of hard work and coming together as a team and a 10-game win streak. Never been a part of something like that. Played a lot of good football, kind of found out who we were on the way. I think the main thing, going forward, we're going to need to start faster in the season. It's hard to start 0-2 and get the 1 seed, set yourself up in a position to be the most successful in the postseason. Right. But every year is a new year. We're going to have to start fast and not dig ourselves a hole early on in the season.
Have you ever been part of an offensive line group that suffered the injuries down the stretch? Like it seemed like every week somebody was going down to a significant injury, and that's the biggest fear. I mean, you hope that you don't have to deal with that type of thing, and you want to have plenty of roster depth at each position group, and the offensive line proved that there was roster depth there. But to have the injuries that you had, as you're in that 10-game winning streak you're talking about, and you're vying for let's win the division, let's get home field advantage in the playoffs, and all the things that go along with it. How tough was that?
I think guys really stepped up and did a great job. I think the Buffalo game was the prime example, down 3 linemen. I was really proud of all those guys that stepped in, Jackson, Max, and Hakeem. And I think it really highlighted a lot of our great players on offense. I think the O-line, we held up okay. I think the Chiefs game wasn't our best, but Buffalo game was a very good game, but highlighted a lot of how dynamic our skill players are and how good Joe is as well. And then even inversely, the defense. So our defense is also outstanding. So it's a team effort. When you're in there, we expect to win. So whoever's out there playing, that there's not an excuse like that's why we didn't win the game. You're expected to go in there and perform well enough to win. And for the most part, all of us have most of the season.
In your mind, like you said, you've been around some great quarterbacks, and most specifically Brady and Joe Burrow. What is it that you think is the primary requisite for a quarterback? What trait is it that he has to have to be successful in the National Football League?
Gosh, the number one trait was just delivering the ball precisely. I think that's the biggest determining factor. I mean, when I got to the NFL and when I saw quarterbacks, so there's just a little bit something different about the ball that a quarterback in the NFL throws as opposed to any other level. Obviously, they're the premier, they're the best at it.
Right.
And when you can take it even a step further with Tom and then with Joe, and especially with Joe, I really haven't seen anybody that's more accurate of when you really break down the throws. I mean, they are going at a good pace right into the receiver's hands. So that's a luxury we have. We need to do our part as an O-line to make him comfortable to deliver those throws, and that is our number one objective.
So what's Joe like in the huddle? How compare and contrast Tom Brady, Joe Burrow? Are there more similarities than differences with those guys, both like on and off the field, I guess?
Well, Joe is his own person, and Joe is the leader of this team. And I think the number one similarity between Joe and Tom is that they're going to win a lot of games as the leader of the team.
Right.
And, Joe was a great leader. He's a great in-game leader, great at adjustments, very low maintenance and adjustments between the O-line and him. And if he wants something, he's not bashful to tell us what he wants. And that is our job to go and execute it and tailor it to his needs. And then he's also a great off the field leader, has relationships with everyone on the team, very welcoming as a superstar, something that you would hope and want, and really welcomed all the free agents, did a great job bringing us together, forming a culture. And this organization it is his. So, he is our leader and does a great job of it.
It's in this era of football with salary cap and the revenue that the league generates, and players are going to share in that success. Obviously, it's paramount to get Joe signed and set a budget. And there's always going to be teams are never the same from year to year, as you know, and I know if you play long enough, it's like from one year to the next. There's going to be a core, but there's going to be a lot of different players. Those football teams, Kansas City Chiefs are a great example. They had 24 different players on their 53-man roster from last year to this year, and they won the Super Bowl with rookies and free agents and everything. And they had they were in the top 3 in terms of teams that had most rookies playing for them, and the other 2 were Houston and Chicago, and they have the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft. And number 3 in terms of rookies playing, Kansas City, and they won the Super Bowl. So I mean, they integrated these new players so well. That's a big part of the process in the National Football League in this era, isn't it? And having a guy like you to help integrate that, to be the conduit between what the coach's expectations are and player performance. I mean, a guy like you is invaluable in that regard.
Well, thank you. Yes, I tried to. I thought we had a good leadership core on this team. And we had some young guys that really contributed. I mean, not as many as the Chiefs, because we do have a big core and a lot of. I would still consider them younger guys, especially on offense. They're still all on their rookie deals, but very dynamic players, which is a testament to how this organization has drafted and built this team. But we're going to need rookies always to contribute, and that's an interesting stat. I didn't know that about the Chiefs, but obviously give a lot of credit to Andy Reid and how he onboards new members of his team, but their core is also very good too. So they have a good Q, they have a good O-line, and I think we're built very similarly to them in that regard. I think it's going to be a matchup that whoever wants to make it to the championship is have to go through each other. So we got that one in the back of our minds always, defending champs.
I could see you, envision you as being a really good offensive line coach at some point in time when you're decided you're done playing, hopefully 9-10 years down the road here.
I'm going to help my dad. This is actually Marion University this spring. I'm going to go up there, do a week with the O-line. They got spring ball. He's the head coach. It's NAIA school in west side of Indianapolis, Indiana. So exciting times. Marion Knights.
And what about the offensive line coaches that you've been exposed to during your professional career? I mean, I was fortunate in that my first line coach was Bill Tiger Johnson, was an all-pro center, the 49ers. Y.A. Tittle was the quarterback before he went to the New York Giants. I mean, Tiger was great. I mean, a tremendous first line coach to have. And then I had Jim McNally as another line coach, one of the gurus, of his generation in the coaching ranks. So I was really lucky that way. Yeah. Do you feel like you've experienced the same type of thing?
I do. Just starting my career off with Dante Scarnecchia and having him for 4 years. He came out of retirement, and he actually he was me and Joe Tooney's line coach for 4 years. I think that was a base that's been a big reason why we've been successful in the NFL.
Right.
And then I've had 4. So, and then Frank, I love Frank. He did a great job this year. I think we have a great room. We have a lot of talent in the room. And we have a great culture, and it was a lot of fun. And Frank did a good job scheming up runs and getting us right, he did a great job getting Cordell ready to play in the NFL and start every game. I played every snap as a rookie, which is an impressive feat.
That really is, and he is very effusive and complimentary in his praise. What you meant to him this year, he said honestly. He said, I don't know what my rookie year would have been like without having Ted Karras next to me, and he said, I just feel so blessed, so fortunate to have had that experience. And what kind of a guy was Volson to work with? I mean, you mentored him big time. He was a willing listener, though, obviously, wasn't he?
He was. Attacked it, worked hard, won the job in camp. He didn't come in. He wasn't one of those guys that was slated in to be a plug-and-play guy. They took a smaller school guy in the 4th, and he won the job, which is impressive in itself. And then he starts every game, but he really put the work in spring and in camp. On off days, we would come in and work on his set. He had played a little left guard, but left side wasn't his main side in college. So, I mean, he's got everything you want. He's long and strong, great guy, great friend, attacks the game. And we're going to be relying on him to really take a big jump this year. I mean, I thought he did really well this year, but the biggest jump any player takes really in their career is from 1 to 2, especially his O-line play. So we are, he's coming back as a big-time contributor, someone that we're counting on to, be a top performer for us.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the year 1 to year 2, year 1, it's like, you really don't know what you don't know. And then year 2, it's like, now you start to understand what you didn't know. And you can make definite leaps. There's no question about it. I love watching the relationship between quarterbacks and their offensive line. It's obviously, to me, it's key. It is a must-have component for success with your football team. And, I experienced it. Well, I was roommates with Kenny Anderson and experienced it with how he was bonded with his offensive line. Watch Boomer Esiason and his offensive line, just become so close. And I watch you guys and Joe Burrow, man, and you guys are inseparable. I mean, on the road, it's like every minute seems like you guys spend together. And it's not just feeling like, I got to go over this. You guys enjoy each other. I mean, you guys like spending time with each other. That's a big deal, isn't it?
Oh, it was such a fun year, and Joe's such a cool guy, and everyone really is so really cool, funny. I love kind of the organizational vibe that Zach has created. Kind of loose but ready.
Yeah.
No one's too tight, no one's too overly nervous about anything. Everyone's prepared. I really enjoyed the culture of this team, especially on the road. I felt we were on the road all year almost. We felt like road dogs, especially later in the season. It was a lot of fun. Everyone's always in the cafeteria on road trips, talking, hanging out. No one's really just goes to their room. So I think it's a big reason why we're successful, and we're going to have to keep that going. It's going to be fun to go back for spring. I love the spring because everyone's in town, but there's really not the pressure of the season. So you can hang out more. There's not that there's some competitiveness, but it's really not testing your competitive stamina in a public season environment.
Right. I mean, when I watched though, it's like, particularly when you have the successful years, and obviously there's a lot of reasons for it, but the earned confidence that you're talking about, it's like you're not nervous. You're anxious to go out and perform because you're so ready. You feel like you have the answers to the test. And you want to start demonstrating that. And you just can't wait to go out there and perform. And that's what it seems like with Joe. Joe just has that earned confidence, and it just it dissipates to the entire football team, doesn't it?
Oh, that's such a good way to put it. I think that, like, one thing I think about, if I do start to get nervous or anxious, or when we're going into a game, is like, if I just do my small part and win my rep, like, we're going to win this game. We got the guys that are going to win. I need to just block this guy. I don't need to be worried about anything else except my small little part, 1 of 11. And when I win, everyone else is going to win too. I have supreme confidence in my teammates. And then ultimately we're just going to win the game. And that was a big reason why we won a lot of games. I think the biggest example of that would be Tampa Bay this year. What everyone kept it calm, and we ended up winning a game we probably shouldn't have won at all.
Yeah, that game was spectacular that way. And I'm like you, I remember and Tiger Johnson, my rookie year, actually said it a couple of times. He'd be like, he'd show 16 millimeter film we're watching, and he'd be like, right back and forth 5 times at least, so you get every rep for every guy, everybody can see what each guy's doing, back and forth you go. And he's like, man, you just sustain that block for just one more beat. Look at down the football field. Look at Isaac Curtis, man. Kenny Anderson would have hit Isaac Curtis. That would have been a 65-yard touchdown. Come on now. Just give me a little bit more than that, and it's like, it's so true. You just never know when what you're doing is going to have a huge impact on the outcome of the entire play. It's 22 moving parts, but man, they all have to be synchronized. There's no question.
Which makes it so popular. It's why it's the most popular game in this country. It's
yep.
It's really cool, a lot of fun, and I think it has a huge impact on this country, which is really cool to be a part of.
So, as you've won Super Bowls and you've come back, the year after Super Bowls, what is the mentality? What have you learned from past experiences because a lot of times, there have been cases where players, individuals, not just in football, just in general, handling success sometimes can be a bigger challenge than handling failure. Some people don't handle success well. Other people, okay, failure. Now I know I can't do the things I did when I failed, but handling success. What's the key to handling success? You've done it, obviously. What's the biggest key in your mind, Ted?
And this team has already done it, kind of coming back from last year and being able to reset. But it's a total reset. Nothing is inherited, and especially on the offensive line. Like, toughness and conditioning is not inherited. So we're going to have to restart on most of our things. And it's exciting for me because this is the first time in a while that I'll be able to be on the same team in the same role multiple years in a row for about 4 years now. So I've been, that's been I've been changing positions, changing teams, knock on wood, anything can happen, but
sure.
I feel good about my role going into this spring. But it's really, we have to flush everything. It's a reset. There's some things we can build on, but we got to get back in the weight room and just kind of, nothing matters except for, the win-loss column for 2023. So, you can't bring any reps with you. So we're just going to have to totally reset.
I know that everybody on the team really admired your work ethic, physically and mentally. And I know Joe appreciated, you'd go to quarterback meetings and be part of what was going on with the quarterback meetings in terms of protections and why the protections were going to be structured the way they were structured and calls that need to be made and all that. What was the reason for that? What have you always done that? Was it something that you felt like I need to do that to really establish that I'm the guy, I'm the quarterback of the offensive line? What was your thought process there, Ted?
Well, Joe invited me, number one. So
okay.
I like that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man. I say yes to a lot of things when an opportunity presents itself. So that was number one. But I do find offensive football endlessly fascinating. I do want to be a coach. It's in some capacity when I retire in
Yeah.
football, whenever that may be. And Zach being our play caller as the center, I wanted to get a better feel for how he thinks about the game, and I think it proved to be very valuable. Me going there. I did not overstay my welcome, though. I went a few times, but my shtick in there could probably run out after like 5 or 6 meetings. So I let them do their thing after that. But it was a fun little tradition. I'll pop in for 2 or 3 of those a year. And it'll be, especially probably in spring, I'd like to sit in on some installs into the passing game, as I'm obviously, as an O lineman, way more well versed in run scheme. So
Sure.
just kind of filling in the holes of my football knowledge. And this is a new offense. This is a very different offense than I've ever played in. And it's been a lot of fun.
What's the biggest difference in this offensive schematic from prior ones that you participated in?
I think just playing in New England, we got a lot of base defense. We played a lot of 21 personnel. We're here. We pretty much exclusively playing 11.
Right.
And just getting sub defenses, getting the different adjustments of always playing in sub, and really not getting a lot of base defense. Where Patriots was a mix, but we did get a lot of we played in a lot of base.
So your offensive line group, I mean, I'm sure that you're responsible for this. Do you guys meet on your own? Do you guys do the extra that it's going to take to get to the next level as a group, mentally and physically?
We do. We do some extra drills, especially in spring and in camp on off days. But during the season, we'd always, every Friday night, or not every Friday night, every Saturday night was a game in the cafeteria. Whoever wants to join, we're watching a full game together. And then Cappa and I would watch film on the side. And, I think guys did a lot of great work this year. I was really, really impressed by the depth in our room and the ability to go out and win a playoff game with 3 guys that hadn't really played much all season. So it was a testament to Frank, Derek Frazier, and everyone who worked with the O-line to be able to get that done.
Yeah, I mean, I was amazed because you look at it and it's like you want to have reps with the guy next to you. You may know it mentally, but going in, there's nothing better than live action to see the depth of the set, what it feels like when they're twisting and you got to zone block things and all that sort of stuff. There's nothing like hands-on, full speed game time experience. And you guys didn't have that with any pairing except for yourself and Volson. You and Volson are the only 2 that had worked together, extensively, but every other combination was not. And that it was amazing to watch how well you guys played as a group. I mean, it was really a tribute to everybody.
Well, thank you. Yes, I thought that Jackson played really well. Hakeem and Max. I mean, these are guys that took advantage of opportunities. And like you said, O-line is a continuity and repetition position. And if you look at the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl, that was their starting O-line the whole time. And that's a continuity position. And the teams I've been on that have won the Super Bowl have had the same starting 5. Obviously some guys, there's some, I've had to be a spot starter on those teams, 2 or 3 starts a year based on who, someone going down for a little bit. But in general, you want to keep your O-line healthy down the stretch, but very proud of those guys that stepped in. Ultimately didn't get it done. We had our chances though. So it's encouraging going forward into 2023.
You talking about your desire to be a coach when your career is done as a player from that standpoint. How different are the techniques that these great offensive line coaches that you've been exposed to? Are there major differences, or are there some similarities? Like, boy, I'm gonna definitely incorporate this because every one of these guys does this, this, and this. They might do this a little bit differently, but boy, there's some core value things here that are pretty consistent. Have you discovered any of that stuff?
Well, I think you can go down the main tropes of O-line play, like pad level and hands inside. So the 2 things for me that I really think that have been universal in the ones are your hands inside. If you can win hand leverage, you can control the block, even if you're a little bit wrong. And you got to keep a good base. You got to keep your weight inside the midline of your body. If you start getting off balance, that's when people can make you look really dumb in this league. They're very strong people. So balanced base and hands inside have been taught, I think, obviously all the way back to high school, but obviously it's more nuanced in the NFL. But there are differences. We run a different scheme than we did in New England. New England was a hard downhill gap scheme, duo, one back power, two back power, and ISO. Where here it's still downhill, but it's a sub duo, inside zone, outside zone, pin and pull. There's just different techniques and different style, different running back reads, different timing. So I would say that just the consistencies will always be in the small fundamentals for O-line play. Just winning a one-on-one block will never change, I don't think. I mean, obviously there can be some improvements, but there's been a big sample size of these coaches and their techniques, and a lot of guys being successful.
Let me get you out of here on this, because I could talk to you all day with football. I mean, you're just a great football guy, man. Love talking football with Ted Karras. But okay, Tooney, you mentioned a great player that you played with, and I don't know if he'd be the guy to the answer, but teammate teammate or teammates that have stuck out in your mind, and then opponents, guys that you played against. It's like, oh man, this dude, talk about a stud. Anybody come to mind in those areas, or more than one?
I will shout out Tooney again. Just his consistency of performance and huge moments. His whole career is defined by it, and he's done a great job of that. And I think there's a lot of guys on those New England teams that I could say that to. I learned a lot from Dave Andrews, just his consistency as well. A lot of those O-linemen in my early career, I learned a lot from. Just really what it came down to was just being consistently good. Him, Tooney, Dave Andrews, and Shaq Mason, were two-time champion interior O-line, and they were just consistently good and played their best when it counted the most. And those are two things that I think about a lot. I just want to be consistently good, and I need to play my best when it counts the most. And as far as opponents go, I've always thought Ndamukong Suh was the top of the league. When someone feels that strong, we're big, strong guys, but when someone makes you feel like you're not strong enough to handle what's going on, that's a bad feeling. And he's one of a handful of guys that have ever made me feel that in my career. So I've always had a lot of respect for him. And then early on in my career, I really had a lot of respect for Luke Kuechly. I thought he was as good as they came. I never really played against anyone that good up until that point in my football life. So it was kind of like a welcome to the league moment. These guys are really, really serious good. He was one of the first examples of that for me.
One of those guys that sees it before it happens kind of guy. I mean,
I couldn't even get to him. I was just like, I don't know what I'm even doing out here right now. It's frustrating.
These guys, they never take a wrong step, and they see it before it happens. It's like, what the heck's he doing all the way up? What did he see there? He's already there, man. How did he do that?
He was very good, and obviously he had a great career. I had a lot of respect for him for how he exited the league too. I thought that was very kind of a brave thing to do, probably with a lot of pressure of, and so anti to the culture he was probably raised in and how he was raised as a football player. So had a lot of respect for him as a player and a man.
Well, I have that for you as well as a player and a man. I respect the heck out of Ted Karras, and I know your teammates do, and the coaches and the whole city. And by the way, Ted, before we get out of here, I know you're a give back guy. You're that kind of guy. Tell us about the hat. Tell us what you're doing from a charitable standpoint in your life.
Well, so the hat, thank you to all of Cincinnati and everyone who bought one. Between donations and hat sales, we raised over $500,000 for this organization, the Village of Marici. They are able now to open up a second and third facility. There are, we can serve 400 people now. We're going to be able to double and triple our footprint, and the hats are a big deal for that. We're employing several of the villagers. And we're going to come out with a season 2 of gear. Be on the lookout for a UC version, and some beanies, and just like a regular baseball cap. One of the biggest customer feedback has been, this is a big hat. A lot of people thought it was a little bit too big for their head. So we're going to come out with just a traditional baseball cap, a beanie, and be on the lookout for a UC special edition. We will, keep growing this as we can. It's provided a great income stream for the village. 100% of everything goes straight to them. So it's a big help.
That's awesome. Got a big heart, Ted Karras. You're a heck of a man. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me on. It was good to see you. Yeah, this is the longest we've gone in like 6 months without seeing each other.
I know.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I'm looking. I missed my my opportunity to visit with Ted Karras on a daily basis, man.
I miss you too, man. Well, it'll be back on us before we know it. Let's take our break, reset, and be ready to go for 2023. Going to be an exciting year. We got a great team coming back. I'm very excited, and we'll be ready to go.
Let's go get one. I'm with you, big fella. Here we go.
All right.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team. Hey there, everybody. I'm Dave Lapham, and we do a podcast called In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And if you want to hit the like button on when you're reserving any video, that'd be a good thing to do. And if you want to subscribe and not miss any videos, make sure you do that, because we are going to try to cover the Cincinnati Bengals every way that they can be covered.